You know, for this, I think I'm just going to show you how quick and how stable bad update is. Watch what happens when I press the A button on my controller. There we go, that's it. Bad update has run successfully. That's how stable this is at this point. That is the power of the latest update. Anyways, hey, what's going on everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and while we're still waiting for the upcoming soft mod from Grimdoomer, we are back on here on the Xbox 360, and we're going to be talking about Bad Update. Not BadAvatar, but Bad Update itself, because it ended up getting a recent 1.3 release, which is probably the best one to date. For those who do not know, Bad Update is the hypervisor exploit I've covered quite a bit here from Grimdoomer, which essentially allows you to run homebrew, unsigned code, backups, emulators, unsigned applications, whatever you want to do on an Xbox 360 using only a USB drive. That's all you need in order to get started. It works on any model of the Xbox 360 as long as it's running system software version 17559, which at the time of recording this is still the latest one. However, we can go over to the releases section here, and there's been a recent update here, which is Bad Update 1.3. This one's incredibly exciting because it states that this version incorporates additional Stage 3 improvements from KMX 360, new hypervisor overwrite detection logic, and a rewrite of the Stage 2 ROP chain, which essentially means the exploit now executes instantaneously with theoretically 100% reliability. In addition to this getting a huge boost to stability here, they've even added a boot animation recovery mode, which I'm going to show you all how to use that later on in the video for anybody who might have deleted their bootanim.xex file. By the way, do not do that, just please do not do that. Anyways, this here is extremely exciting and gives us a chance to jump back over to Bad Update due to how quick and how stable this is. Now, people might be wondering how to get sorted on this, and don't worry, I'm going to show you all how to do it, and there's essentially going to be three pathways I have for you here. The first one is going to be, let's say you have not modified your Xbox 360 at all, you have not set this up, you've never messed around with it, and you're finally wanting to try it. Well, I'm actually going to redirect you to my all-encompassing guide. It's over an hour long, but the thing is, it covers pretty much everything you would need to know to hit the ground sprinting once you get Bad Update up and running. And the thing is, if you follow that video from scratch, you're going to have to download the latest Bad Update as part of the process. So if you follow that video right now with nothing set up on your system, you're going to get this update here. However, if you already have Bad Update set up, meaning you're already using Rock Band Blitz as an entry point, like I'm showing right here, I'll show you how to update your USB drive. It's pretty simple. However, if you've already cut over to a BadAvatar, meaning that you use the avatar sign-in screen right here as your entry point, we're going to have to convert this back over to Bad Update. I'll show you how to do that. There might be one or two more added steps right there, but it's still easy enough to do. Now, with all of that said, if you're already using a Bad Update or a BadAvatar and you want to upgrade, go ahead, turn off your system, grab your USB drive, and take it over to a computer or another device where we can download and transfer over some files. I'm personally going to be using a desktop for this. Now for the downloads, of course, all the links are going to be in the description as per usual, but the first thing you're going to need is Bad Update or Xbox 360 Bad Update from Grimdoomer. I would still recommend, if you haven't already, give the README a quick once over here. It has gone through a few changes, so this is just good to note and have on hand. But once you've read this and have a good understanding of it, you can scroll up here, go over to the releases section, and we're going to download the latest release of Bad Update. At the time of recording, this is 1.3. Download and save this zip file somewhere you can easily find it. Next up, if you have Bad Update and you're using it already, you do not have to download Rock Band Blitz, but if you're using a BadAvatar, you will have to download Rock Band Blitz for this. You can go ahead, click on one of the download links here, and then save that somewhere you can easily find it. Finally, if you're having any issues extracting out these files, I'd recommend downloading and using something such as 7-zip. It's easy enough to use and it's free, and you just need to download and install it like any other application. Alright, so first off, for anybody updating Bad Update, that means that you use Rock Band Blitz as your entry point here. You're only going to need the Xbox 360 Bad Update zip file. To start off, all you need to do is right click and extract this into its own folder. It'll give you a folder right here of the same name. Go ahead, double click it, go into the Rock Band Blitz folder, and within here you should have content as well as a Bad Update payload. Navigate into the Bad Update payload folder, look for default.xex, and we're going to delete this file. That's the only file you should delete because we do not want to overwrite our payload such as exe unshackle. Next, we can go back and grab these two folders, Bad Update payload and content. Right click, copy them out. Now plug in your bad update USB drive, navigate into it, and you should still find your content and bad update payload folders here. All you need to do is right click and paste. If it asks you to merge any directories, you're going to want to merge them, and if it asks you to overwrite any files, you're going to want to overwrite the files. So for this, I'm going to overwrite all, and that's literally all you have to do. By the way, if you're using something such as .exe unshackle, I'd also recommend taking this time to double check your launch INI file, because after you launch this, it should boot up into something such as Aurora. So I'd recommend scrolling down and look at the default path, and you're going to want to make sure it is written out and formatted properly. Make sure the U in USB is capitalized, make sure it is formatted like this, and of course make sure this is pointed to wherever you have your Aurora installation. Mine is of course in Applications, Aurora, and Aurora.xex. I just wanted to take some time to call that out because there's a lot of people who end up missing this step here, so this would be an excellent time to correct it. But once you have that corrected, you can go ahead, save this, close out of here. Now we can exit out, right click, eject the drive, and that's it. That's all you had to do to update this. Next up, for anybody who is converting from ABadAvatar, we're going to have to switch from ABadAvatar to bad update in order to utilize this. So for this, you're going to need both downloads, the bad update as well as Rock Band Blitz. For both these here, you can use something such as 7-zip to highlight both archives, right click, use 7-zip, and extract them into their own folders. The first folder we can work with here is Xbox 360 Bad Update, so open up the extracted version, look for the Rock Band Blitz folder, and within there you'll find Bad Update Payload as well as Content. Navigate into the Bad Update Payload directory, and the only file we're going to delete here is default.xex. Again, that is because we don't want to overwrite our payload such as .exe unshackle. Next up, we can go back, and that's pretty much all we needed to do for bad update. Now, in order to transfer this over, there's only about 3 things we need to do. The first thing is going to be to copy over both of these folders, bad update payload as well as content. Highlight the both of these, right click, copy. Now plug in your ABadAvatar USB drive if you haven't already done so, navigate into it, and it should look something like this. What we're going to do is right click and paste. If it asks you to merge any directories, you're going to want to merge them, and if it asks you to overwrite any files, you're going to want to overwrite them all. So I'm going to hit overwrite all, and that's the first step completed. The next thing is now going to be transferring over Rock Band Blitz. Open up the trial folder here, and you're just going to get a content folder. Once you have this content folder, you're going to right click, copy this out, navigate back over to your USB drive, right click and paste. If it asks you to merge any directories, yet again, you're going to want to do that, but that's been copied over. Now for our final step, we have to delete something off of our USB drive. On the USB drive itself, look for the content folder, and if it is not showing up, within Windows at least, you might need to go to View, Show, Hidden Items. Make sure that's enabled. Now, as long as that's enabled and you can see the content folder, navigate into the content folder, and there's going to be one folder we need to look for. It's this one right here, E002FF78DF BDE7B. All we're going to do is delete that. We're going to delete this here since this is for ABadAvatar and we cannot use both at the same time. And there we go. That's really all we needed to do. Now we can go back out here, and one last thing that I would recommend is opening up your launch INI file and scroll down and look for your default path. I'm highlighting this because a lot of people mess up the default path, so Aurora does not launch right after they boot up .exe unshackle. So in order to make sure this works, you want to make sure that the format here is exactly like what is shown here. You want to make sure the U in USB is capitalized. You want to make sure the slashes look like this, and you of course want to make sure your path matches what you wrote. For this here, I can verify my own Aurora installation is within Applications, Aurora, and Aurora.xex. So once we have all that verified, if you need to change it, you can go ahead, save that, close out of here. Now we can go back over to our USB drive, right click, eject, and we're done. That USB drive has now been converted over. Now back over at the Xbox 360, turn it on, plug in your USB drive, and one thing to keep in mind is that we are going to be using Rock Band Blitz. Now for this, it is going to have the same limitations that Bad Update has, meaning that if you have any type of Rock Band DLC or content on your system at the time we are running this, you're going to have to temporarily move it off the system. So I'd recommend doing something like take your content that you might have, move it to another USB drive, unplug that USB drive, and then after you get this booted up, you can plug that drive back in if you want to use that content. Just keep in mind you cannot have any other Rock Band DLC when you are launching Rock Band Blitz. As long as you have that sorted out, in order to launch this, you need to navigate over to Games, go over to My Games, and find Rock Band Blitz, then give it a launch. And here we go at this screen. All you have to do is press A to start. If you haven't run this before, it's going to ask you to select a device. So select any device you want to save your save data to. I'm just going to pick the USB drive, tap A, and now watch how quick this is. I think that might have actually been slow. I'm not going to lie. That might have been a little slow, and that's just because of my USB drive, but that is how quick this runs here. So congratulations, you've now been able to successfully update to the latest version of ABadAvatar or convert over to it. And now after this, since we have Xe Unshackle running, we can press the back button, wait a little bit. And there we go, Aurora is running successfully. So congratulations, you've now been able to cut over and update or upgrade successfully, and you should hopefully be able to get into your homebrew, gaming, emulation, backup goodness much quicker and easier and much more stable than we have been able to in the past. Now I'm showing this as a demonstration, and do not do what I'm doing here, but for anybody who has ever deleted or even replaced or downgraded the bootanim.xex in their Flash, you might have learned the hard way that if you now try to launch Rock Band Blitz, you can press A, it gets to running exploit, and then it just freezes right here, because the necessary system calls needed in order to run this rely on the 17559 bootanim.xex file. So the nice thing is Grimdoomer has actually included the original bootanim.xex, and he's even built in a recovery mode, so you can restore this if you're in one of those troublesome situations. In order to utilize this recovery functionality, just boot up the system with your USB drive already prepared with the latest ABadAvatar, and then launch Rock Band Blitz as usual. Now when you get to this screen here, there's going to be a big difference. Instead of booting up the normal way, what you'll need to do is on your controller, hold down the Y button and then tap the A button. And after you tap the A button, continue to hold down the Y button. What's going to happen is it is going to run the exploit, but you're going to notice that the LEDs on your console are going to light up 4, and then they're going to do a countdown. Once the countdown finishes, the system will reboot, and check this out, once the system restarts, you'll be able to see the original boot animation file be restored. Now in order to utilize it properly, once you've recovered, just go ahead, boot up Rock Band Blitz as you normally would, and once you've run the recovery mode one time, all you need to do is tap the A button here, launch it like you normally would ABadAvatar, it'll cut over to a black screen, and from here, congratulations, Xe Unshackle should boot up. And from here, of course, we can press the back button and get into Aurora. So congratulations, that's pretty much all you need to do in order to get up and running and working with the latest version of ABadAvatar. It's that easy, it's that quick, and it's that stable. And I can tell you all from my own experiences here, I've run this at least 20 times at this point, and I have completely failed to get it to fail. It has worked perfectly insta-boot every single time I've tried to launch it. Now that we're at the end here, I would like to give some shoutouts and thanks to not only Grimdoomer here for continuing to improve, update, and even release into the wild here ABadAvatar. We are all still, of course, anticipating the upcoming soft mod, but until then, this thing is pretty awesome. This is fantastic so far. And of course, KMX360, who had some really awesome contributions in order to improve ABadAvatar 1.2 as well as 1.3 to really get us to a much better point of stability on here. With all that said, that's pretty much all I have for this video, so hopefully this helped out, hopefully this got you all back up and running even quicker than usual, and hopefully you can enjoy your Xbox 360 even more than you were before. Either way, this is Mr. Mario, signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, a like would absolutely be appreciated, and if you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well too.